Sawate mihi nomen est Stella ad hoc est Batgirl the Oracle, the Barbara Gordon podcast, episode 239 for October MMXXIII. Batgirl the Oracle is brought to you by MileHighComics.com, your new and collectible comic book store. Mile High Comics has an inventory of over 5 million comics from the gold, silver, bronze, and modern age, and over 100,000 trade paperbacks. If you're not into the vintage stock, Mile High Comics also has a subscription service called the New Issue Comics Express, offering a discounted price for comics ready to hit the shelves. So if you're looking for vintage back issues or a great modern subscription service, be sure to check out milehighcomics.com. Well, my sabbatical from War Games was quite brief, but we are back and we are finishing it this time for reals. And I promised this guy was going to be back on for it because he's in it for the long haul. So it's my dearest friend, soon to be my plus one at a mutual's wedding. It is Joshua Lepin Bertoni.
We're on the front lines. We're gonna plant that flag in the ground and finish this battle.
Absolutely.
Once and for all.
Yeah. So people who are fans of our naked friend and follow him
my God.
follow him on
Here
Instagram noted that, me included, of course, noted that some naked imagery was posted while both of you were at New York Comic Con. So the people want to know, were you the man behind the camera for these images?
First of all, when you say the people want to know, who is the people aside from you?
Mainly me, but
mainly I'm like, you're implying that there is
the fandom. The fandom, his
Has
followers
the fandom
on
told you
Instagram.
This?
Huh?
Has the fandom told you this? Have they said, was that Josh?
I make assertions and assumptions.
This seems like a generalization. I will answer anyway.
Sure.
I did not know.
Okay.
And I don't know. Maybe he's just really good with like the timer feature. There were a few times where I went down for breakfast before him, and like now that you're saying this, I'm like, oh, maybe when it took him a little while to get back to breakfast. And there was like one day where he like got back to the hotel early, and then one day when I went early and he joined me later. So maybe that's when the photo shoots happened. Maybe. He did meet up with another friend, but I don't think that they were ever in the hotel without me. So I guess I don't know.
Are you resentful at all that he didn't ask for your assistance?
Thought never crossed my mind. This is the first I'm learning. I'm never on Instagram. I didn't know that
I know
were happening.
And you don't follow that account.
Yeah, I honestly forgot. If I probably would have been relieved that he asked someone else because I was so busy with work. I'd be like, yeah, good. Someone else do the photography.
There you go.
Were there any during BGSU? Probably not. He was very stressed during BGSU.
Yeah, I don't remember. In your Ambig D's defense, he does schedule it in advance. So I will at least say that. But I thought it'd be funny.
Oh, I thought they were coming from the hotel, the way that you were describing it.
I don't think so. No, he has them and then like schedules them out.
Okay.
But I thought I would start a rumor, a sensational one. Sensational and salacious. Oh, okay. Well, we'll take NYCC as a transitionary piece and move straight into the Find Your Joy segment. Shags, mac and cheese, a comfort and joy. I'm just assuming that was a Find Your Joy moment, but what has been giving you happiness in the, I guess, this month, October, and then the month I did not speak to you online here, September?
Yeah, it's crazy. I was telling you before we started, though, when I got on, I said, I just came back from the busiest, few months of my life. And I kind of was in the middle of a bit of a break there. And then all of a sudden, like in the period of 8 weeks, I went on 6 trips, and the wedding will be the 6th and the final trip. So things just got like very busy again. So some of those trips have been joyful. So I'm going to try and move through these quickly. The first one was Dragon Con, which was fun. I like Dragon Con, celebrating the fandom, and that was nice. I got to see our friend Michael Bailey. Oh, and my phone background because we did a panel together. This is still. Do you know that that's still my phone background?
Yes. Yeah. Did you change it? Now I'm sad. Did you change it out?
No.
Oh, you're
It's
keeping
not,
it. Okay. Because that'd be
no,
sad
it's
because it's like everyone but Stella.
well, no, it's the combination of like, it's
Yes.
like you, it's Donovan, it's my son, so it's like, yeah, I
Yeah.
gotta like that's rarely a combination, and so that's my bet. And you all look different now, but anyway, like when I took my phone out and Bailey saw that background, he said, "Aw," like recognizing you and
Yeah.
Dawn. So that was after BGSU. I went to Minneapolis for a 2-day X-Men convention, which was called the Uncanny Experience. That was really fun. And they had a Dazzler cosplayer who like you got to do karaoke with. Like it was a cool event. And then after that, I went to Texas because a crazy thing. One of the kids, he wanted to go to SeaWorld for his birthday. And then in the middle of the summer, before we were able to go to SeaWorld for his birthday, his mom fell in love and moved to Texas to be with this fella. Seems to be going well. And he was like, and they went to San Antonio. And I was like, there's a SeaWorld in San Antonio. We could go to SeaWorld for your birthday still. So I kept that promise. I flew to Texas for the weekend and went to San Antonio and we went to SeaWorld. So that was nice. Then let's see, that's trip number 3. Then trip number 4 was Bowling Green State University, had the Spider-Man academic conference. That was really nice. I did a presentation on like misogyny in Spider-Man comics where I owned up to the misogyny that I put into the world regarding Betty Brant and how that has not aged well. Sorry, listeners. I saw someone on 4chan the other day say, Bertoni, he led that one man jihad against Betty Brant. It's an exact quote. That was really weird.
On 4chan?
Yeah.
Well, do you feel like you've made it if someone mentions you by name on 4chan?
I don't think you want to be on 4chan. I'd rather have my name off of 4chan, um, but anyway, BGS Bowling Green State. That
Terrible.
that was fun. And of course, you were on our mind the entire time because like the last time we were there was years ago with you,
Yep.
and then from there straight to New York Comic Con, which was it's very fast paced. It's someone asked me if I like it better than San Diego, and I said, you know what, I think I do, mostly because it's a Read Pop convention, and working for Popverse, I get a lot of like benefits at these Read Pop conventions. I get like a badge that like lets me in and out of like special doors and stuff like that, and I can skip lines and free food, which is like very essential. And in terms of finding joy, New York City, I love hunting for New York City pizza. Like I like to try different New York City pizza places, and like when I find a good one, I'm happy. When I don't, it's like, ugh, never mind. And I actually looked through our text messages from when we went with Harry to see Macbeth, to like find this pizza place that Harry and Donovan and I went to when you went to that one play. And I found it and I was like, wow, this was not as good as I remembered it a
Uh,
year and a half ago.
yeah.
So that's been my joy.
Gotta go to John's. Gotta go to John's Pizzeria. Well, thank you. Thank you very much. I will say, I think so far this month, probably the biggest joy, yeah, has been going back to Falmouth, back to T-Ticket. This was the main trip that was planned. So in August, at one point, Harry said pretty immediately after the surprise dropped, does this mean you're not coming in October? But that had already been planned. So I felt
Oh,
bad because I was like, that's a lot of Stella. I double checked with the mayor and all that just because I don't like to overstay my welcome. But ran a 5K. Originally, I was going to do a half marathon, but just with 2 jobs and a class over the summer, I just could not find time to run those miles. So just did a 5K. It was fine. It was chilly. It rained like before and after, so it was a bit better there. Apparently, I beat my time from the previous year. And then just yeah, a lot of hijinks. I think again, I'll probably wait until the episode, the next one when I'm by myself, to talk about like the day by day. But if you do follow Harry and our gaming channel on YouTube, you can see that I gave him a haircut, a mullet. People commented on it that it was a good haircut. So I just want to put that forward. And then we also did a orange soda challenge where we got all the brands of orange soda we could and then saw which ones we could correctly guess. I guessed 5 out of 5 correctly. Poor Harry, only 2 out of 5. So I think I'll say that. for right now. But I'm happy that the weather is finally the temperatures are dropping and it feels like fall. And then yeah, just this weekend, I'll be going to Texas for a
Yeah.
wedding of a close friend, someone I've been friends with for a while, and Josh is going to be my plus one, and I'll be Josh's plus one, and be interesting to see some people that I haven't seen for a while and be able to hang out with you too. So forward to that.
Yeah, and I'm looking forward to that, and it'll be the coziest of all the trips I've been to, because like every trip has been like something kind of like strenuous.
Yeah.
Even like taking that kid to SeaWorld, like Texas was hot.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah,
and I live in Florida, Texas
yeah,
was hot.
yeah. I've
And we
been
were like outdoors 2 days in a row because we did SeaWorld then Aquatica.
Yeah, I've been checking the weather and it's 80s, but the humidity is like 40s and 30s. So hopefully it won't feel too bad. But yeah, I'm kind of prepping for that. But I'm all set to go. I know what I'm wearing for the wedding. So I just have to figure other stuff out.
And I
So
know I'm wearing a belt to the wedding.
I'm
Stella has
so happy to
already
hear it. Yeah,
informed
we'll
me.
see if there's a peach sliding on the dance floor.
Peaches, 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 peaches.
Ah,
Whoa, what if I request that song and we slow dance to it?
I'd be down. I'd be down for something that weird. We could dedicate it to Donovan. You could say this
Dude,
song goes
why are
out
we
to
giving?
Big
Oh
D.
no! Wouldn't he be like coconuts or something? Like,
Well, yeah, but
do we have a song?
you and
Do
I?
Yeah,
Probably
do
not.
we have a song? Okay, the Peaches is our song now.
They're not gonna have the Teen Titans.
Oh yeah, the Uda.
Ooh, no. Okay. Well, I've been saving this. So we're going to do some listener emails. So I was saving this because a lot of them were comments on war games. And I wanted you to be on there to hear them and also comment on them. So now I just have to sort through everything. So
Man.
237 comment number one from Hornacek. Remember, you remembered him?
Yeah, Hornacek.
Yeah, so a bit late, but here I am. Lots of podcasts to listen and watch. Yes, I am, quote, Hornacek from Crawl Space, end quote, as Josh called me, the one that listened to old episodes and posted the funniest lines on the message board. That wasn't my idea. It was already a thing when I found the website years ago, but not many people were posting in that thread, and Brad said that he wished more people did. So I just started doing it. Lots of great, funny lines from you during your time there. There are the obvious ones. What's a fat one? Josh asking you the thought balloons question, etc. But a personal favorite of mine was a message board question. Quote, what's a comic book that you are embarrassed you own? You said Metamorpho Year One. Brad asked, what is that about? And you took a pause and said, it's about the first year of Metamorpho, which I guess answered the question. After the laughter, someone else said, Hornacek thinks maybe it was Donovan. I don't know if it was anyone else said, man, Brad, she just took you to school or something like that. Anyway, I followed you over from there to here, figuring, this podcast will be like so many others and won't last for long. What did I know? I'm still over at the crawl space. I now do front page reviews of Amazing and have appeared on a few video podcasts. Finally, I just double checked and I am also the person that replied to your ex Twitter poll, who is to blame for war games, with the answer Donovan.
Hey.
So Hornacek is an ally in many regards.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
No, that's not. And speaking of crawls, there was a lot of like crawl space like
Overlap, wasn't
talk
there?
at the Spider-Man conference, because there
Yeah.
was a few of the like new people were there, and we all had like a dinner, after the conference, and we were like surprised because like people would like mention crawl space in their presentation, so it was like, oh, I think I texted Brad a few times, which I'll like still do time from time. Oh, and here's something that happened at New York. I interviewed Dan Slott about Spider Boy and Superior Spider Man, and I walked into the room to interview him with Donovan, and this was an interview for Pop First, and he looks at me and he says, "Oh, is this for Crawl Space?"
Oh, interesting.
And I said, "No, I haven't been in that site for 10 years."
Yikes.
He wasn't asking like in a mad or like whatever way, because like I know
Yeah.
some people will take that out of context. Like
Yeah.
it's just like, "Oh, is this for Crawls?" And Don's like, "I can't believe he remembered that," and I'm like, "Yeah."
Did you carry around that sign?
No,
Okay.
gosh, I've not taken that sign to a con in like over 10 years.
In years, yeah. On part 2 of 237 Horse That Comes Back, I haven't watched the September videos yet, so if you've already discussed this there, then just ignore this comment. You mentioned here that you read Halloween Party in preparation to see A Haunting in Venice, and I was wondering what your thoughts were. I've seen a lot of Chrissy adaptations, and while there are always changes, most of them have the same basic story or mystery. While A Haunting in Venice takes place at a Halloween party, someone bobs for apples and some of the character names are the same, the story is wildly different. It feels like Branagh wanted a lesser known Christie novel, which this is, after doing Orient Express and Nile, and he wanted to make a spooky Poirot film, which HP isn't, but it's set at Halloween, so close enough. Yeah, I actually just saw that this past week, Hornacek, and I enjoyed it. One of my compatriots, Jacob, who's been on here, and his wife also went. We both read the book, and so we were commenting on how it really goes off, but I think it's really original. And there are like certain aspects that you kind of still feel tied to, like Leopold, I felt like was uh pretty pretty close or accurate. But it also made it like, oh, is the killer going to be the killer? So it kind of kept us guessing. I was very claustrophobic being in there because in the book, as you know, he visits all these houses and the different people and the neighbors, which I did miss a bit, but being in here, claustrophobic, and then the cinematography is, like, very much on the people or looking down on them, so that felt like you were closed in, so it's interesting, and I'm okay that he took some liberties, but, yeah, I wonder if there are purists that did not like that. Have you seen this, or do you read any of those or listen to them on tape?
I've not now.
Okay. Keeping on going. So this person posted and then deleted it, and I don't know why, but I'll just read it because I felt like it was a good post, so maybe it was an accident, but this per
Spicy.
well, yeah, I mean, if it was like yeah, I don't it was a good comment, so I still have it because my email pinged. So Sweet Mimosa, gives a time marker. There's a later issue of Robin, I can't remember the exact one, where they bring back the resentment of her in a big way. I guess Tim resenting Steph. It's very weird. The whole end of that issue is just Tim stewing and how much he doesn't like that she, quote, thought she could ever be good enough to replace him, end quote. There was a weird period after War Games where it seemed like each Bat book would randomly pull the reader aside and justify Steph's death. Do you recall this?
I don't, but I definitely believe it because there was a lot of weird treatment around Steph after her death, and we're going to get some of that in the
Yeah.
recording that we're doing today.
Yep. Also, Shayna, which I think this was in response to Shayna from Earth 2, the vampire comments said, "You take so much joy out of my suffering." So, move it on. There's like no response to that. Okay, two.
I'm trying to remember the context. You
It
mean
was
the?
about the pelican, and I
Oh
asked you to
yes,
back up your reasoning of the vampire, but you
yeah,
said the feathers, so it all makes sense. So I
yeah.
think she just doesn't like that we have evidence to back up our claims.
Mhm.
In regards to 238, I did say I wonder what Big D thinks about Cass nearly getting pwned by Harley Quinn in Birds of Prey #1. I don't know if you saw this.
I read it. Yeah.
He did not respond, but you know who did come in? His other his beloved basically, and I don't know
Oh,
if
he
I
has
can
so many
find this.
beloveds.
Yeah, I
Is it
know.
Daryl?
Harry came in and basically said that it was false, fake news that Cass would be. He didn't use that phrase. I can't find it, but that she would be
Why would Harley lie?
why
No. I'm sorry. Why
why
would
would
Cass
Cass
lie?
lie? Yeah, yeah,
Yeah. Why
yeah.
would
And the
Cass lie?
argument is that Harley is so unpredictable that of course she would be able to get in some licks.
I think Cass is a good fighter, but she's not invincible, and we're
Yeah,
all prone to make mistakes.
it's very true.
I think that absolutely, like Cass would annihilate Harley Quinn in a one-on-one fight,
Yeah.
but I can believe that like Cass could have an off moment where Harley could have gotten the upper hand for a moment years ago. It's not like Harley killed Cass.
Yeah, yeah, I would agree. I would agree. But he didn't like it. He didn't like it. I did ask him. He's like, I didn't like that. I did also forget in my Falmouth recap that in a couple months ago about the mayor knowing about the pickle jar being closed, which is one of my favorite restaurants there. She knew about it. Harry and I went. We were excited. I was more excited. It was closed. We come back and she said, "Yeah, oh yeah, it's closed." And then also the man in the booth on the bridge. We were walking across one of those bridges that go up and down, and a man exited the booth. And you know how I like to gasp or go like, "Ooh," that sort of thing. So I did that, and he's like, "Do you wanna come inside?" Which
Oh my no.
upon first hearing, I was like, "This is creepy." He's like, "No, really, you wanna come inside?" Luckily, Harry was right next to me, and so we all
So
got
you
in
could get
there.
murdered with you.
I know we all went in there. The mayor came in. Maybe
Oh,
someone else was in there to look at like his control board, and we chatted with him. And that was a big joke. I think his name was John. About this was probably the first human contact that John had had being in the booth on the bridge. But all because I was like, ooh, when he came out there. And I will say I did ask because I asked Harry for his highlights of his birthday weekend and Donovan for his, but I didn't ask the mayor. She said, "Just you folks coming up, surprising Harry." Says the last time he was that surprised was when Maggie came home from Korea. Both of you making the most of Cape Cod weather, swimming in ocean, having stuffed quahog, getting stung by jellyfish, that was Big D, going downtown, etc. The camaraderie you all have is amazing, true friendship at its best. You may have varied views on issues, but that does not take away from your friendship. People could learn from you all. Both you and Donovan fit right in with the family, and the fact that Harry liked the Liberté sailing was a fête de triomphe. We loved having you, always an open door for both of you. And then P.S. She loves the pick of the three of us spooning, which was of course her prodding allowed that to happen. And then finally, an actual email from Earth to Shayna. She says, Stella, I was not expecting to enjoy Thompson's number one as much as I did. It's hard for me to articulate, but it feels like the spirit of BOP lives in this first issue. I did not feel the same about Batgirl and the Birds of Prey or any of the newer one shots that have come out in the last few years. It might be because Thompson already has me invested with a mission that revolves around sin. I think that alone helps older fans feel more comfortable in a new world and with a new team. We get so many seemingly small character moments in this issue too. I love the interactions between Big Bart and Cass, Zealot and Harley, Dinah and Cass. I feel invested in this team already. My only hope is that Babs might join later down the line. And the art is so perfect. It's not over stylized. Our women aren't sexualized in every other panel. It has a classic feel to it. I cannot wait for issue 2. In regards to Birds of Prey 74, I definitely think the most interesting scenes of this issue are the ones that involve Savant. Barbara using him and or giving him a second chance, you decide, adds some moral complexity to our heroes, especially Barbara. I like that Savant brings her hypocrisy to light. After all, aren't heroes supposed to be guided by a strict moral code? Don't we expect them to embody a black and white view of the world, one that is easy to consume and digest? Hero is an ideal and one that I don't think most human beings can live up to. In regards to your question about what responsibility Babs and Dinah have to Savant, personally, I don't think they have any. However, their roles as heroes say otherwise. Barbara admits to feeling the pressure of that identity in this issue. Additionally, Barbara likes to be in control. So while I agree that you can't force a person to help themselves, Babs might feel differently. To give her credit, though, Savant began as a hero before Batman rejected him. Perhaps it's why Barbara feels confident she can build him a conscience or at least reach that part of him that wants to do good. I think this is also the reason that Savant looks to Barbara and Dinah for some kind of salvation. He hit a rock bottom, but then caught a glimpse of the heroism he wanted to embody, communicated by Canary's laughter, a sign of resilience, when he held her prisoner. And now working more closely with Oracle, perhaps he's seen more of the man he wanted to become or be, the hero he wanted to be. Now, whether it is fair or not to put that responsibility on Babs and Dinah, two mere humans, is a much greater philosophical question. Though I don't think it is unusual for us as mere humans to look to our heroes as gods, to see them as the only ones who can save us or even restore us to a more innocent state of being. And then Birds of Prey 75. No, the photo. Oh, that because of the clock tower being on. Will we ever find out who took that salacious picture of Dick and Babs? I don't know. I still think it's Tim. I love the introduction of Zinda. I
oh.
think Simone crafted a really compelling character in her, and I'm excited to see my favorite version of the team in the upcoming issues. Best Shayna. There you go.
If Tim took that photo of Dick and Babs, the salacious one, maybe he took Donovan's photos.
Do you think Donovan would feel uncomfortable with Tim Drake taking naked pictures of him?
I think Donovan would be like, "I'm surprised that Tim Drake is real," but I think he would be honored to have
That's
his
true.
favorite Robin photograph him in the buff.
There you go. There you go. In the buff. Oh man,
Yeah,
like that guy, the buff dude. Oh, that's Duff. Never mind. Of the yellow people. Okay.
The yellow Duff Man.
Duff Bill. Okay, that's it. Thank you very much for writing in. Remember, you can post on YouTube, or sometimes I get X's or tweets, and then, of course, emails.
You
So
call
we're
them X's? No one calls them
I don't
X's.
even know what else they would be called.
They're twits. Like
They're
we're all
twits.
ignoring. They're tweets. We're all ignoring.
The X business.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
we're all ignoring the name change. It's like
Well, Hornacek said X Wheats or something. X Witter. So
X
he
Twitter.
he made an amalgamation.
It's Twitter. It's tweets.
Okay. So we are looking at right now the epilogue of which I didn't even know existed until I flipped my Kindle and I was like, oh my gosh, there's still more before War Crimes. So there are two epilogue issues. One of them I feel like is a better and in the spirit of epilogues, an epilogue compared to another one. I don't know if you would agree or
Let's
disagree.
see. I have the same opinion, but let's see
Yeah.
if we agree on which one.
Okay. Well, the first one that technically came out on my Kindle was Detective Comics 800 Alone at Night, which dropped January 2005. Writer Anderson, Gabrick, penciler Pete Woods, inkers Ken Smith, Jude Geraci, and colors Jason Wright. And this is the one that I don't think really, like, if you didn't read it, you didn't miss much. So even though there's a
I
huge
agree.
synopsis, okay, even though there's a huge synopsis from DC Wikia, I'm not reading it because it's just not. So this is the nice little from DC Comics, what the publisher blurb was. Following the shocking events of War Games, Batman faces an entirely different and dangerous Gotham City. And with Killer Croc and the Mad Hatter on the loose, does the Dark Knight even stand a chance? There is a lot about drugs, on the streets now that War Games is over, and I guess not many people are keeping track of that. And then we also see what Batman is like without Oracle. He actually has to do some work, which becomes a theme, I think, throughout this night that we'll talk about.
They hit you over the head with it a
Yeah,
lot in the post War Games
yeah,
era, so that readers know things are different.
yeah. He's like,
I
oh,
was gonna call Oracle for
yeah.
directions, but I can't anymore. It's like,
I had to do some detective work again.
and it's like you only used Oracle for like a small portion of your career if you like add up all the years together. But
Yes.
he got lazy and unappreciative and
Yeah,
jerk.
I'm afraid so. Yeah. So a lot of my questions actually or I guess points to really address what goes on in this particular issue. It goes back to something that you said I think twice during our arc together, that this is just really a total reset of Gotham.
Yeah,
Batman is by himself, really. Everyone seems to be gone, though later on Dick comes back, but that's really in War Crimes. Babs, Tim, and Cass, we note, are gone. Dick is injured. And then, of course, Stephanie is dead. Onyx is still around. She's taken over that particular territory, which the death of Orpheus is sort of galvanized, I think, the Hill Street gang. But otherwise, yeah, that's primarily what our status quo is. And then Jim also left. Jim Gordon left to be with his daughter. So they have a touching scene. So there are some scenes I do want to talk about. The Barbara Gordon scene with Bruce when she makes that decision to leave. Thoughts on that?
I think that Babs was kinder than she could have been in that conversation. She didn't have to be. She could have let Bruce have it a little more, but I understand why not. Like they're both exhausted and people have died, so maybe it's not the time to do a complete postmortem on the relationship. I thought it was a nice scene. Oh, I mean, I'm sure that you'll tell me actually this is why Batman shouldn't have lifted Barbara up or something like that. I don't know.
Oh, yeah. I
But
don't know what people I mean, I would have to ask someone who is well, I will say, actually, I'll say this from personal experience. Well, this is different. This is a different context. But when I was in the hospital that I worked at as a PT tech, someone in a wheelchair was coming out of the bathroom and her IV pole was there. And I was in there to like set up the room or whatever. And so she was coming out of the bathroom. I was helpfully going to move the IV pole out of her way. And she told me to stop, that she could do it herself. And so that is just one of those. I think you just can't assume. But also on the other, if you didn't ask, it's like a tricky thing. I think it's very dependent on the
yeah,
person. But I mean, yeah, to be like scooped up, I don't know how someone would feel. I would have to speak to somebody
I
about
I
that.
think it was like a hug or something.
I
I
think
guess
so, yeah.
But I do have a question though. Having
Sure.
I'm sure you've read now the Birds of Prey issue where that follows War Games where they leave Gotham, right? It
Yes. Yep.
opens with the bird.
Yep.
It's been I have not read that issue since it came out. Is Bab's reasoning for leaving Gotham that they do in Birds of Prey, is it the same as the reason she gives here?
That she needs space.
Yeah, I mean, I don't remember what she says in Birds of Prey, but like, there's a lot of editorial mix-ups, like between the Nightwing title and the Batman titles around
Yeah.
this time, and I'm
Yep.
wondering if Birds of Prey did a better job at kind of matching up.
I would say that these two are they do align pretty well. Just that she needs space. She does mention Dick as a reason in the other one. Just kind of needs a reset for her. I will say I did reach out to Gail Simone via Twitter and asked
I
her.
saw.
Yeah, and unfortunately she was told she was not asked. So because I asked like, "Hey, was it your idea to leave Gotham?" And she's like, "No, I was just told that this was going to happen." So she had to like make do with it. So unfortunately.
I thought it was interesting. Oh, that kind of goes with the theory that I had of that this was all because of Batman Begins, and they wanted Gotham to look
Yeah,
more like
it
it did in
might be.
Batman Begins,
Yeah,
where cops. So if she was told that kind of adds, because as I said in the War Games episodes, that was like my theory, and that was the theory of everyone at the time, but that's never been like confirmed by anyone.
yeah, yep. Um, yeah, I mean, she is pretty stretched thin with all the duties that she's doing and everything. So I
But
appreciate seeing it in the
but I
Batman
feel
title.
like the location wouldn't change her being stretched thin or not, but I can see how like it's a mental thing. Like
Yeah.
if you're in Gotham, if you're in the center of Batman's operations, then there is more of a pressure to like be in the thick of it.
Well, I feel like she's just it seems like I mean, I've yet to read issue 76 at the moment, which is when I suppose they'll be wherever they need to be. Though they are in a flying command center. That she's just gonna focus on Birds of Prey. So that's cutting out a lot.
I mean, I'm sure she'll still help other heroes when she needs to. It's
Yeah.
just, she doesn't have to help Batman with the nickel and dime stuff anymore.
That's very true. That's very true. Moving on to another Gordon, which is the next page. What do you think about his scene with Jim and their discussion? And then I did have a question. Just there is a point that law and justice are not the same. That's something Batman says. Do you agree with that?
Absolutely. Um, we don't always get justice when we work within the law, unfortunately. And that's not me advocating for breaking the law, but like justice is not always served and received. It's our system is, I think overall, I would say that our legal system is good, but unfortunately, like it's not perfect and people escape justice. I didn't have much thoughts on the gym scene. It's like, in fact, I thought it was weird that he's like, and I'm going to, because I'm like, you weren't really around that much. Like,
Yeah, he just like
um,
popped in War Games a couple
yeah,
times.
like he hasn't done that much. Like he would show up from time to time, like in Hush. He's like, I am the former commissioner, and I say you shouldn't kill Joker because it'll change you. Like he would show up from time to time to give like sage advice, but
Yeah.
he wasn't a regular character.
Yeah. I guess it would just be it's a significant absence potentially if they hadn't addressed it.
Yeah.
And I do like, I
Um,
mean, I don't know if I'm going to see any Jim and Bab stuff in 76 onward for Birds of Prey, but that would be nice. I haven't seen that in a while in this era.
have you gotten to the issue where Babs has a conversation with Jim about being Oracle? Has that happened yet?
I don't recall.
Okay, then probably not, because I feel like it was sometime around this era.
Yeah, so maybe
So maybe you will see more Jim
maybe
and
I
Babs.
will. And then the final relational one is Catwoman and
I did not like a lot
Batman.
of this issue, but I liked the Batman and Catwoman scene. I obviously it was needlessly dramatic, but come
Mhm.
on, Batman and Catwoman are freaking dramatic people.
Yeah.
Like, like they're always so melodramatic. One of my favorite issues of Catwoman is like when they're like talking about their will they or won't they relationship, and Deathstroke is like looking through his like sniper scope, and he's like rolling his eyes like, oh my god, like this. And so like this, like, but I like that, like it really was a good way to show the emotional toll of war games on Bruce, and it's kind of a good indication of where Batman and Catwoman's relationship is in this period, because we're in this post Hush period where like the dams had broken and Batman and Catwoman were hot for each other again after the books had kind of kept them apart for a while. So it was nice. Would I can I are we still on Batman and Catwoman? Do you have any thoughts to give? Because I wanted to touch on something
Well, I was
with
just going to
another
say that I'm
character.
happy that Batman, at least in this issue, changed his ways because he actually relayed information. Because he seeks Catwoman out to talk to her about Black Mask being the leader behind the scenes, the kingpin of crime. And I feel
Yeah,
like he might not have done that in previous issues, especially during War Games. He was kind of keeping information that was pertinent to other
yeah,
people hidden. So I did like that. Though he still shows his like Batgirl self by feeling like what was only me, but then Cat Selena like lists off all the dead that were close to her at the hands of Black Mask. You're like, there you go. Let us humble Batman once again. Yes. What is your
I don't like how they characterize Tim leaving Gotham. I'd have to reread Robin, but I recall like there's I think it's Stephanie, the issue of Stephanie, you see Stephanie Brown's funeral at the beginning of the post-war games issue of Robin. And Tim just basically says that between his dad and everything else, like his heart is like just too much and he needs to get away and other things. And he also needs space from Bruce, kind of like Barbara did, for different reasons. And that's why he goes away. And in this book, when Bruce is listing everyone going, he's like, Tim Lee is leaving too. Gotham is too dangerous for vigilantes right now. It's which is implying that like Tim is leaving because like the Bat family is wanted. And I'm like, I don't think that's a fair characterization. And I don't think that that's fair on Tim. It's like saying that Tim is scared.
yeah. Yeah, and then Cass is connected with that. So the same
Yeah.
assumption applies. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And I'll talk more about the Tim and Cass stuff when we get to the Secret
Mhm.
Files
Yeah.
story.
Did you feel like the revelation of Black Mask as the leader, being known now as the leader, was anticlimactic in this
I didn't
issue?
even feel like it was a revelation. Like, did we not know this? Like going
We
into
did, but Batman didn't yet know who was behind the scenes. He had like an inkling, but then it was revealed. And it's like, aha,
yeah, I mean, I didn't really consider it a reveal just because, like, it's him learning something that the readers already knew
sure.
since the final page of War Games, where it's like, I didn't die in the clock tower. I survived.
Yeah. I will say though, it doesn't make sense yet. It'll be in one of the secret files issues that the design of Killer Croc in this issue is wildly different than the one that we'll later see. And I feel like it isn't consistent with that villain in particular, what he looks like.
We're really in an era of like the Batman offices not being overseen very well editorial wise, because there's stuff like this, and then stuff like the next issue really, really, really does not fit in with the Nightwing timeline.
Okay. You can tell us all about it. And let us move on to that. Do we? I feel like I don't even care to give a rating, frankly. Is that okay?
I guess I might give that. Is are we going out of 10? I forget. Uh,
Sure.
okay. I guess I would give that a 7 out of 10 just because I do like that Bruce and Selena scene.
Okay. Uh,
Selena.
yeah, I guess I'll second you, but I'm just waiting for the war crimes. So then we're moving on to the true epilogue, in my opinion. Batman
Agreed.
634, Decompression. Writer Anderson Gabrick, penciler Paul Lee, inker Brian Horton, color Sky Major, January 2005. In the living room at Wayne Manor, Bruce Wayne drinks a glass of whiskey while Dick Grayson, who is still recovering from the wound on his leg, takes some tea. Dick admires Bruce's strength and purpose, and he recalls the few times that he has watched Bruce drink alcohol, and the sight of it fills Dick with fear. They are both accompanied by Alfred, who is drinking some wine. The three of them recall all the past events that ended up with the destruction of Oracle's Watchtower, and it's interesting they call it that, the clock tower, and Black Mask taking control of the entire criminal activity in Gotham. Bruce reflects upon the effects of that death, that death has brought upon them. And Dick realizes that Bruce already knows of his involvement in the death of Blockbuster, though Bruce's mind was thinking about Stephanie Brown. Alfred quickly changes the subject and asks Bruce about Leslie Tompkins, and Bruce replies that she wasn't in good shape when he last saw her at the clinic and that he hasn't talked to her ever since. Dick is curious as to what Bruce did after leaving the clinic, and Bruce tells them that he went out to the streets and took down a weapon dealer and his illicit business. Bruce recalls that after taking care of the thugs, he tried to reach for the intercom to call Oracle and tell her to summon the police, but he stopped as soon as he remembered.
This
Alfred,
happens a lot.
yeah, Alfred asks if Bruce remembered the fact that Barbara's gone or that he is now a wanted criminal as well. Bruce tells him that until that moment, he had not told Robin about the death of Stephanie, and Bruce explains that he tried to tell the truth to Robin, but after the battle with Black Mask and the great efforts they all have been through, Robin, who was still
Did not
eager.
deserve a chance to say goodbye to his
I
girlfriend.
know. Robin was still eager, young, and strong, and Batman just couldn't reveal the truth to him. And instead, he told Tim to go to his family and share some moments with them. After a few hours, Batman tracked Robin and followed him to the East Side Clinic, where Robin was trying to sneak inside to talk to Stephanie. However, it was already too late, and Batman told Robin everything that happened. And despite the hard news, Robin didn't lose control. Of course, days later, Tim's father, Jack, was murdered, and Tim was completely alone. Dick blames himself for not being present during Tim's time of need, but Alfred replies that he was in no condition to be outside home. Alfred then explains how he managed to find Nightwing after he was shot in the leg and fell unconscious on a fire escape ladder. Alfred listened to Nightwing's call for help, and a few hours later, he located Nightwing and carried him to the like a sack of potatoes to the mobile Batcave to heal his wounds and take him home. Alfred then reflects on the fact that after the war ended, there were only Bruce, Dick, and himself left in Gotham, which reminds him of the old times that he holds as a dear memory. Bruce tells Alfred that the situation isn't exactly as the old times now that the Black Mask has taken control over almost the entire all the gangs in Gotham. Bruce tells him that the Hill Gang didn't join Sionis' side and they keep fighting the criminals' control under the leadership of Onyx, who defeated Alexander Kosov during a gang battle between the Odessa Mob and the Hill Gang. Batman had a conversation with Onyx and she explained to him that the gang won't join Black Mass after he murdered their former leader Orpheus and that she's going to keep fighting despite what Batman thinks. Oh, then this. I do want to talk about this. But Batman is worried that Onyx might fail and end up dead or leading the gang to death. But Onyx replied that because Stephanie died trying to impress Batman, it doesn't mean that she would fail as well. Onyx knows what she is doing, and she told Batman that he's not responsible for Stephanie's death. So this happens again, but Batman also washes his hands of it to a certain extent. So we can talk about that. Dick agrees with Onyx, but Bruce tells him the conversation he had with Crystal Brown, the mother of Stephanie. Bruce was standing over the grave of Stephanie at the graveyard when Crystal appeared and asked what was Bruce Wayne doing there. Bruce told her that he was visiting the grave of a young hero, but Mrs. Brown could barely stand hearing the word. She expressed her feelings about the whole situation, her worries of raising a child with a criminal father, and watching her grow to try and emulate the Batman and be like him. Mrs. Brown recalls that Stephanie always pushed really hard trying to fight the good fight, but in the end, all that she has left is a dead daughter and a husband and a grandchild she will never meet. Mrs. Brown blames it all on Batman. I should say a dead husband because that'll come back. Mrs. Brown blames it all on Batman and she calls him a criminal because he breaks the law and drags little girls into his war to their demise. Crystal has a breakdown and admits that she failed her daughter, Stephanie. Um, she killed her daughter. Bruce admits the same as well, but neither Alfred nor Dick understand what he is actually referring to. Finally, Alfred asks Bruce how he is going to keep working as a vigilante now that the GCPD have orders to shoot him on sight. And Bruce tells him that it is going to be like in the very beginning, and he must be very careful. Bruce stands up and tells him that he has some ideas and that while there are still millions of people in Gotham in need of protection, he will protect them with his life as necessary, which fills Dick with renewed hope. I will say I didn't realize that. I mean, I was reading Birds of Prey last month, and I guess I just didn't think that the GCPD had laid down this level of law and order against vigilantes. I didn't, was that given to us at the end of War Games, or is it
I
just
feel
coming
I
out
feel
now?
like it was understood. Was there not that
Okay.
page where like you hear them say like shoot all vigilantes on sites?
I just thought that was during War Games. So that just continued.
I mean, I don't see why they would rescind that order.
Okay. Well, I
Batman
thought
Bat,
once law and order
Batman
was
said
restored, they would go back to.
Batman said like I'm taking control of the GCPD. All right, cops, I want you to all run into that meat
Yes,
grinder.
yes, we know your thoughts on that. Yeah, I just thought that, oh, it was kind of lifted after that. Things were status quo.
No,
They didn't trust him, but it
no.
wasn't. But now it's real bad. It is still soon shoot on sight. Okay, but that was my naivete. Okay, I already said we agree. A true epilogue. Bruce drinking concerns.
That's interesting and surprising, but he's human. I'll give it to him.
Yeah,
He's at home with his family, and he's had a rough time. He's lost all his allies,
yeah.
and Stephanie's dead, and Onyx is dead. Not that he really like, or not
Onyx,
Onyx.
Orpheus.
No,
Woo!
yeah, yeah,
Careful. Yeah.
yeah. Orpheus is dead. Not that he like cares, because it's like he
He's
focuses more on like, was Stephanie's death my fault? It's like, what about Orpheus?
yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
I mean, maybe that's because Stephanie's a child and like a girl. He feels more,
Mm, yeah.
responsible there. But
Yeah, I think it certainly shows he is human after all, that he takes to drink in order to do something,
yeah,
maybe to feel quote unquote as normal people do.
I don't mind it. It was surprising, but
Yeah.
like I don't mind being surprised.
Yeah, I don't think I've ever seen him drink, but I do wonder what he's doing as Bruce going out in the town. Is he just like dropping champagne things
I
in
think,
plants and pretending to drink, but not really drinking?
yeah, I think he's having like non-alcoholic beverages and pretending to be like a little tipsy, like in the movies, like in the Chris Nolan movies. That's what he did, and
Yep.
Batman Begins.
I do like that this issue catches the reader up, as well as Dick and Alfred. We're kind of with them, what's been going on, kind of sort of what the plan is going forward. Do you feel like Bruce knows about Blockbuster, or is there like Dick, he's paranoid that he knows?
If I was reading this at the time, I would say that Dick is paranoid, but like eventually, like, and it takes like another like year or two, like Bruce does say like, of course I know about Blockbuster, like, and you've been feeling bad about it, and
Yeah.
I'm mad at you for feeling bad. I'm not mad at you for Blockbuster, I'm mad at you for letting it get in the way of you feeling bad, or like something like that.
Yeah.
Just bad communication all around, because honestly, like, it would be a load off of Dick's mind if they could just have a conversation about it.
Mm-hmm.
But this is a good time for me to say, which I mentioned this in the last episode that I was on. This does not fit in with Nightwing's timeline, because Dick is shot
Yep.
at the end of that War Games issue. And the next time he wakes up, he finds out that Stephanie is dead, and like that War Games has like ended, et cetera, et cetera. And he leaves the Batcave and leaves his Nightwing costume behind. And then the Bat books, like, they take a break for Nightwing Year One, and Dick, you find out that when he left Nightwing behind, he like joined the underworld and like became part of the mafia with his crutches and everything that he was in for a while. Like, there is no time for this like scene to happen,
Mm.
because in the Nightwing title, we're told that immediately after Dick passed out on that roof and Alfred rescued him, he woke up in the Batcave, found out that Stephanie was gone, and like leaves the Batcave never to come back. Like until he becomes Nightwing again, but like he like goes off. I'd have to look at the issues again, but I know that like he and Tarantula have an altercation, and he kind of like breaks it off with her for good and says we have to arrest ourselves for what we did to Blockbuster, and she's not down for that.
Sure. I'm sure not. Yeah.
But yeah, this, anytime Nightwing is appearing in the Bat books during these months, like in the I believe in the Red Hood storyline too, where he still is in his crutches, it's a weird continuity hiccup that does not make sense. Like Killer Croc's appearance, like it should have been coordinated.
So we've talked a lot about this Tim situation and Stephanie in
Oh
the
yes.
hospital and Batman. And I think we've asked all the necessary questions. So my new question would be, if Batman had this to do over again, do you think he would do the same thing in regards
He
to
he
not telling Tim in the moment?
he does not seem remorseful about it. He does not seem like I should have this. He's like, he kind of justifies it when he explains it to himself. I don't buy his justification, but like he seems to be trying to justify it and believing his like BS. So
Yeah.
I I think someone should ask him, how would you feel if that was your parents and you were denied the ability to say goodbye to them or
Yeah,
something?
it's true. Yeah.
It's also weird that they say a few days later his dad was dead. So like when we're seeing Tim in Identity Crisis before Jack dies, Tim is like doing okay in Identity Crisis, and it's like, oh, this is Tim like hours after he found out that his ex-girlfriend was murdered.
Yikes.
You know, like again, the continuity is just kind of all over the
A
place
little bit
here.
wonky.
And
Yeah.
also, like, that means that War Games and Identity Crisis were real. I mean, they were happening at the same time in the comic book store. We were reading them at the same time. But like this was like within a week for like Batman. Like he's saying goodbye to Oracle. The clock tower is destroyed. Black Mask almost kills him, and then he's solving Jean Lorne's murder,
Mm, yeah.
or or solving Sue Dibney's murder. Jean
Dibney,
Lorne.
yeah.
Jean. Spoiler alert: Jean Lorne did it.
She was the one who did it. Yeah. The interaction between Mrs. Brown and Bruce at the gravesite. Do you feel like she is speaking some truths that Batman needs to hear since it's from an kind of an outside party? At least not someone in the Batman family.
I think that she takes it a little far, but I think that I don't think it's completely unfounded either. Also, I think it's you're really asking for it showing up at the grave as Bruce Wayne after being at the funeral.
Yeah.
Like it's very surprising that Mrs. Brown hasn't like made the connection.
Yeah.
I mean, she's
Definitely.
not a genius like, you know, her husband is, but
Sure.
she's not an idiot either.
Yeah. In contrast, we see Onyx putting the blame solely on Steph's shoulders. What do you think about that?
I don't think that's fair. I think Stephanie was set up to fail with the whole War Games thing. Like we talked about that. And did she ask to like get kidnapped and Sorch? Well, okay, because there's three versions of what happened here. So like, do I? So if I say, do I? Is it Steph's fault what happened? Is it Steph's fault what happened if Black Mask killed her? If Black Mask was the cause of her death, is that Stephanie's fault? I would say no, because in that case, it's Black Mask's fault. He was a killer. He killed her. Stephanie was trying to help. The War Games happened because Batman was not responsible. He left basically matches out in a room full of toddlers. Not that Stephanie's a toddler, but just as a metaphor. Um, so in that scenario, no, it's not Stephanie's fault. If we're going with scenario number two, where spoiler alert, Leslie Tompkins killed her, then that's not Stephanie's fault either. If we're going with scenario number three, which is the next retcon years later, that actually Stephanie was alive, then I guess it's irrelevant whose fault it was.
Sure.
It's
Yeah.
really tricky dealing with all of these different like it's like Schrodinger's death.
Yeah. Yes. She's a young adult, so I feel like someone is still responsible for her. So I do still am like, well, Batman, he had a part to play. So I think Crystal is, yeah, she's heavy with what she's saying, but I do appreciate that scene. And she's a grieving mother, so I felt like it was pretty authentic to what someone in her position might say. I found it interesting. Batman asks Onyx how far she's willing to go in this gang war, or I guess protecting and going against Black Mask, as if killing were an option. That's just what it felt like when he was asking her that. I thought that's a weird phrasing. Are you okay if she starts killing people? My final question, then, of course, if you have any thoughts, do you feel like maybe this is too simple of a question, but has Leslie gaslit Batman and by extension the whole Bat family?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, again, it depends on what version of the story we're going
Right.
with.
With the one we're doing tonight. Let's go with
As
that.
it was written now,
Yeah.
yes, she's gaslighting them. As it was written when she faked Stephanie's death, well, she's still gaslighting them in that case. She's gaslighting them in both
Yeah.
scenarios, you know.
Do you have any thoughts on Batman 634?
No, just a much better epilogue.
Yeah.
Nightwing really should not be there. They should have had a better. They should have spoke with Devin Grayson. Although I have a feeling that they did talk with Devin Grayson and just ignored her
Yeah.
because, judging by conversations that Donovan and I had with Devin Grayson years ago, it seemed to be a case of like her trying to be in more coordination with the offices, and sometimes they would just ignore things that she was doing, like plans that she had approved and storylines that she had approved, and they would like go over them.
Okay.
So I
So
don't know.
yeah,
She'd be. It would be good to revisit with her sometime, and
yeah.
because she did you not interview her recently? Am I remembering on? Oh,
Stop me.
maybe at the end of her arc, because she leaves around Infinite Crisis.
Oh,
Well, I
okay.
mean, she leaves during Infinite. Like it's like 1 year later is the end of her run.
Yeah.
That's when she's replaced with, I believe, Bruce Jones. Maybe
Okay.
Nightwing has some weird years there.
I guess. Yeah. Grade out of 10.
Maybe 8. I don't like things that happen in the issue, but I thought it was a well written and well drawn issue. And it kind of gave me a better epilogue feeling than the previous issue did.
Yeah, I would say maybe an 8 or an 8.5. Okay, moving on. So there were a couple secret files and origins. I'm gonna speed through these. So first there was the villains. Batman Villains, Secret Files and Origins, 2005. And there is, as usual, there's stories in there, and sometimes they have different kind of
Yeah.
who's-esque files. So Stranger in Paradise by Bruce Jones. There's certainly a focus on Red Hood and how he is messing with Black Mask's empire. And then Black Mask, who has all of these actual masks that have been created by an artist, goes through which villains are in or out of the picture. So it gives us kind of an update as to what the state of Gotham is like and which side they may be on, if they're on his or not, or Hush's maybe. So it's all through Black Mask's point of view. I
Yeah,
wasn't
it's
aware that
basically
Red Hood
these,
and Black Mask intersected at all.
he was in the Red Hood storyline.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's been years since, but I remember like Red Hood was messing with Black Mask stuff in that storyline,
Okay.
if I recall. But yeah, this story was basically, hey, these are the villains in case you need to know.
Yeah.
Like, and that's what these secret files were for. They were like 101s, and
Yeah.
in the 90s when I was a kid, like, and they would do secret files, I would usually pick them up, and they were good ways to like get to know characters that I wasn't reading. That's how I found out a lot of stuff about like Superman and the Flashes and stuff like that.
Gotcha. Between this, there was or at least I put in between in my notes, there's a Batman 642 story, Breaking the Skin by Anderson Gabrick, where Killer Croc completely differently designed. Oh, that works. He frees himself from Tetch's control because he was being controlled in the previous issue that we talked about. He's also dying. Batman tries to save him, shoves a syringe in his mouth. And I think that's mostly what I would have to say about that. Do you have any thoughts on Batman 642?
It's kind of weird that it's in this trade
I would
because I
agree.
really don't feel like it's connected to any of the, like, it's not part of War Games, it's not part of War Crimes.
It was a
It's
part of
just
that epilogue.
it's just kind of like, yeah, maybe it's because it's just kind of there to the point where like I texted you earlier today and I was like, are we covering this? It's in the trade, but I didn't see it in the first draft of the notes.
Yeah.
And I was like, and I thought maybe, and I was like, oh, it's superfluous. That's probably why it's not on there. I'm like, nope,
Yeah.
we're covering it, but
Well, just for me to
barely.
tell you that it's there. Yeah.
In fact, I'm looking at my notes and I have nothing in the notes section for that. I have Batman 642 written down, and
And that's
there's
it.
nothing under it.
Yeah.
So
I
I have
do. Yeah. I
nothing
like
to
this
say.
Killer Croc design more so than the other one, I will say. My preferences. And then we have Batman Allies Secret Files and Origins 2005. We have two stories here. A Friend in Need by Russell Lissow. The synopsis from the publisher is, or I think, when he is surrounded by police while investigating a crime, Batman chooses to flee rather than fight them. Renee Montoya arrives and scolds the police for focusing on Batman instead of securing the crime scene. Batman muses that he still has one ally left in Gotham, and when he is able to solve the crime, he gives Montoya the tip. So yeah, it mainly was setting up kind of a liaison in the presentation of Montoya, so that Batman can still be connected with the GCPD. I would say that was the main point of that.
Yeah.
And then finally, I did reach out to Big D. He said he likes this. That's all he said. I tried to get him to write an email. Didn't. He doesn't care about us. Taking Sides by Anderson Gabrick. Batgirl and Robin discuss the fallout of war games. They are called, they probably call it that too. They are called to a robbery at the Natural History Museum and realize the Penguin is robbing himself for the insurance money and publicity. They go home to watch the news and are shocked when Arturo Rodriguez decries Batman for using children in his crusade, including the now dead Stephanie Brown. Thoughts, especially about this discussion about Batman between these two?
I liked it, and it kind of shows where Tim is at mentally with Batman right now, and him needing some space, and also, yeah, no, I agree with him that like Cass does hold Batman in a very high regard, and it is hard to criticize, Batman around somebody like Cass. I thought that that was fair, and um, I don't know if you're up to this in the Cass's books right now, but immediately after War Games, both her and Tim are off in Blue Haven. I don't remember why Cass went, but like the editorial needed an excuse to get everyone out of Gotham. But that whole era began with kind of like a storyline that was weaving in and out of Robin and Batgirl, where it was just Tim and Cass like find the Blue Haven underworld, and I liked that era. It was fun, like sometimes they would share a storyline, and other times like Tim would have his own storyline in his book, and Cass would have in her book. Sometimes it would come together. So reading this reminded me of that, and it was an interesting to see their relationship kind of develop more there too. And when I say I don't mean romance, but like this is a Robin and Batgirl relationship that's different than the one that we had in the Bronze Age with Dick and Babs. So, and one of the first storylines that there were they were investigating rumors that Blockbuster was alive, but I believe it was Penguin using like a fake Blockbuster as a figurehead. It's been a while since I read it. One thing about this story that has never been addressed. They don't need to address it now because we've had like crises and like New 52 and like convergence and all this stuff changing continuity. But Stephanie Brown is outed on public TV, and in a few years, Stephanie Brown is revealed to be alive, and she comes back and she goes to college, and she has a secret identity again, and this is never addressed. Like nobody at Gotham University ever goes up to Stephanie and be like, "Weren't you the girl that was on the TV for being Robin and you died?" This is never, ever, ever explained by anyone. So just that's interesting. And the guy in me that likes like chronologies and like everyone's ages took note that Stephanie was 16 in this. Because for a while I thought that she was older than Tim, and she was kind of meant to be older than Tim when she first appeared, but slowly like they were kind of presented to be like the same age. But just that was something that I noticed at the time when I read it, and that I noticed now.
How did somebody find out about Stephanie Brown being spoiler, do you think?
Clue Master, we deal with this in War Crimes.
Oh, okay.
Clue Master's colluding with them.
Oh, okay. So he's the one who fed information.
Yeah. This is
Okay.
like Clue Master Rodriguez, and this was a lot more confusing when I read it now than when I read it like in 2005 or whenever this came out. Like, but like I forget if how closely they were colluding with Black Mask, or if like he was colluding with Arthur Brown separately, then he was colluding with Black. But either way, like yes, Arthur Brown.
Was the one.
Yeah, he was the
Okay.
one that like told them it was Stephanie.
Gotcha. Do you feel like this is in character for Cass to almost take the side of Batman over Stephanie? She is in a way blaming Stephanie. She says, "Oh, was it here? Um, she was my friend. She messed up and she died."
I think that as much as Cass likes Stephanie, she never fully trusted Stephanie to handle herself in the battlefield, if that makes sense. Like she didn't hold Stephanie, she held Stephanie in a high regard as a human, but not as a warrior. And of course, Cass is going to side with Badger.
Yeah, and so she doesn't think it's. Is she blinded? I mean, Donovan's going to be rolling his eyes, but is she
Here's
blinded
the deal.
by
No,
her?
no, no,
Yeah,
no.
I
You always do this. No, no.
know. because it doesn't seem like she puts any of the blame on Batman.
Sorry, I just got a sec. Okay. Doesn't seem like she puts any of the that's Cass though. She doesn't blame, and this is also like what they were talking about in the email that we read, where like we were in this really weird period where like everyone is blaming Stephanie throughout like all the titles. And it was kind of uncomfortable.
Yeah.
So I think that Cass is just one of those many voices.
Yeah.
But I would honestly say that it's in character for her. She's defensive of Batman,
Yeah.
and she kind of had the attitude that like Stephanie couldn't handle. Like, is there not that one issue where like they're about to go in the fight criminals together, and Cass punches Stephanie so that like Stephanie's knocked out and Stephanie won't
Yep.
go into the fight with her.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Yeah. It's just interesting. Yeah. I mean, Tim calls her. I appreciate Tim in this issue. You know, it's for you. Batman can do no wrong, and that's why you
yeah.
have to be. And so, I mean, I appreciate him. I appreciate that he is.
Mhm.
I think considering more like who's at fault and the whole situation. Um, I will say it is relatable to not want to, talk to somebody about somebody else knowing you like them. Like there's currently this person that I do not like. And
Mm.
I was with a friend for coffee and she was asking me about it. And I was like, well, do you like him? Or like, what are your thoughts? She's like, yeah, I think he's great. And I'm like, okay, well, I am not, you keep your opinion. I am not going to talk about that person, because I
If I
don't,
thought,
somebody else needs to form their own opinion. I don't need to be talking about.
Mhm.
Also, yeah, there might be some bias on the other side of like these are the things that I don't like about this person. And then my friend likes him. So what am I supposed to do?
if I thought that Harold was responsible for Professor Middleton's death,
Yeah.
I would probably not go to
Talk to
you
me.
and air those grievances to
Yeah,
you.
see? So it is
Yeah.
relatable, I would
Yeah.
say.
I just picked two names out of the hat. Like
I
I was
know.
like
What
I
weird
was like Professor
circumstance of
Middleton.
those two.
Why did Harry kill Professor Middleton?
Professor Cheapskate, yeah.
Yeah. Who we
Okay.
met at BGSU.
I know. Talking about monies, I think.
Yeah.
Okay. That's it. I don't think we rated any of those little mini ones, so I think that's okay. So we're gonna take a video break because this might be big. So part two you can expect, but for the audio, that's not expect later, but the audio is not really going to change any at all. So see you soon.